Hello, everyone, and welcome to Innovations in Nonprofit Client Accounting Services. This webcast is brought to you by CPA Practice Advisor Magazine and Corpay One. I'm Gail Perry, Editor-in-Chief of CPA Practice Advisor, and I'll be your moderator today. Before we get started, I'd like to explain how CPE for this webcast works. The webcast qualifies for 1 credit of continuing professional education. If you plan to earn CPE for attending this session, you must stay with us for at least 50 minutes. In addition, we will display 3 polling questions during the webcast. You will need to record an answer for each of the questions, as this is our verification that you are still watching the webcast. You'll receive an email by the end of the day today from CPA Practice Advisor that contains a link to your CPE certificate, assuming you met the requirements for CPE. Please note that we can give CPE credit for multiple people watching on the same computer, so if there are others in your office who would like to attend this event, please have them join you now, and at the end of the event, we'll provide an opportunity for you to send us their email addresses so that they too can receive CPE. At any time, you can enter questions in the Ask a Question box on your screen, and our speakers will try to get to as many questions as possible during the presentation. Questions not answered during the broadcast will be addressed by the speakers afterwards via email. The slides for this presentation are available for download in the Events Resources box on your screen, and also our presenters have provided us with a case study that you can download as well. Today, we're joined by Bob Lewis, Senior Vice President of the Accountant Channel at Corpay One, and Jeremy Van Grohl, Founder and President of Nonprofit Bookkeeping. I'll let Bob and Jeremy introduce themselves now, and then we are ready to begin.
Gail, thank you. And hello, everybody. Thank you for your time today. Appreciate you joining us. It's a pleasure to be with you. I'm a former accountant. And spent really the last 25 years in the software space, mostly with small business and bill pay services during that time. So this is a topic I spend a lot of time on, and it's great to partner with Jeremy Van Grohl here, who leads Nonprofit Bookkeeping, and I'll let him introduce himself.
Yeah, thanks, Bob and Gail. I appreciate you guys bringing me along as well. So Jeremy Van Grohl, like I said, founder and president of Nonprofit Bookkeeping. We've been around for about 6 years and started the firm after about 15 years of for-profit accounting experience at a Fortune 500 company, and at a point where I was extremely burnt out with a poor work-life balance, as well as dealing with short-sighted decision-making to maximize shareholder profit. So jump ship there, started our own firm, and really quickly just focused completely on nonprofit management and financials.
Awesome.
Yeah.
It's great to be free and then now supporting clients.
Yeah, agreed. Yep.
All right. So let's talk about our objectives for the day. For this hour, we have a very brief sharing of sort of broader changes going on in the tech platforms that are foundational as to how we're arriving where we are with solutions today. Talk a bit about the spend management platform we have, how that and card and workflows all support a better and innovative client accounting services practice area for nonprofits. We'd love questions. We have a few spots throughout where we plan to stop and see if there are questions and answers. So please go ahead and add those as you go so that we can answer them at the steps that make sense. So with that, we're seeing the several areas where functions within the business process are coming together, from point solutions to a functional platform. So one of those areas that I think is pretty evident to many is employee management. That's where we're seeing payroll and benefits, and HR, HRIS, maybe time tracking, all coming together in a single platform. Similar with donor and marketing engagement or revenue management. So into a little bit more for-profit on the accounts receivable side. On the other side, on the spend management side as well, bringing together and with that, payments, AP, expense reimbursement, corporate cards. There's as that's all coming together, and the payments piece is coming into the software. It's really shifting the value and the business models that are coming out as a result. And so that has some real advantages in the cost structure of some of the newer platforms available, including Corpay One as our solution. We're going to feature a little bit about that in a bit. And then, what is spend management? A little bit more detail. Really in the small organization, that's generally starts with a corporate card and then the bill that was a scan of an invoice or a bill that you receive after a purchase was made, and then all through approval, payment, perhaps expense reports and reimbursements as well. As organizations get a little bigger, sometimes the front end of that includes purchase orders or procurement. That's not part of what we're talking about today, though we have expertise that we could share if that's an area of interest, so we can follow up there. But today we're really, most of those who are seeking outsourced accounting tend to be in the small organization segment, and even though they can be larger in that segment. So then let's take a pause and ask our first polling question. So Gail, would you like to take that?
Yep, here's our first question. So how focused is your firm on nonprofits? And the possible answers are nonprofits are our primary focus, and most or all of our clients are nonprofits, or we have a nonprofit vertical with a dedicated team. We have nonprofit clients that we serve with our cross-industry team. We're looking to learn more so we can specialize more with nonprofits, or we don't have a nonprofit focus and are not planning on it in the future. So choose the answer that's most appropriate to your situation. And then we'll wait a few seconds and see how the results come in.
Mm-hmm. Okay.
Okay, and it looks like the results are just about in.
Great.
Yeah, let's go ahead and post these results then.
Yes, please. Okay. Are they live?
They're live now, so it appears that almost half of the group serves nonprofits with some specialization and focus.
Uh-huh. Okay. So yeah, it looks like, yeah. So there's a few, about 25% who are exploring or curious about automation in spend management, but not nonprofits. But yeah, most folks here and many serve nonprofits with some specialization. So yeah, that's great. Okay, so back to our session. So some of the benefits that we see, I guess, rather than me tell you what you might experience, maybe we can hear from Jeremy, who's using the Corpay One spend management platform, and he could talk a little bit about what it's been like and how it's benefiting his practice and his clients.
Yeah, happy to jump in. So, I would say about a year ago at this time, before we had met, we weren't doing anything with bill pay. It was pretty much we're engaging with a client and they're telling us, here's how we get money out the door. And now we are just using that as a given and trying to make that process as efficient as possible, but really aren't involved at all. So, when we found a tool that we could use like Corpay, like first of all, starting to help own the process itself has immeasurable benefits that you understand more of the detail that are coming in, the process, the approval structure, all of that. You just learn more about the organization. And it also gives us another means of monetizing our relationship with that client, right? So if you're doing handwriting checks out a month or every month, every single check, tracking down your treasurer or your executive director, for me to come in with a tool saying that you send us the bills, we're going to code them, you're going to get tasked this, and the check goes right out the door without anyone touching anything, no paper involved, all that. That's a pretty sweet win for them, and it lets us move the needle real quickly for them. And then just, beyond that service side of things, it just gives you more visibility on the front end on the client on what they're doing and where they're going, because you see where the dollars are going out the door before they're there. So like in a traditional coming in after the fact accounting model, you see the postings that are in the ledger already and you're categorizing this. Like I know this ahead of time. I know that, hey, they put out a big bill to a contractor that specializes in additions or buildings or something. I can ask that question like, hey, are you guys expanding your program? What's going on? This is a big investment for you. And we could talk it on the front end. What does that look like? Can we help you do some advisory on the financial side of that? Or just even know, because you're making this investment, what questions will you or your board have in the future that we could prepare for ahead of time and make sure that we have the accounting software set up to answer something like that.
Nice.
Yeah.
That's more specific than I would have been. So thank you. Yeah. So I think, I'll summarize sort of what we see as some of the benefits of our solution over some of the other solutions out there. You may experience some of those benefits by using any bill pay platform. How we're different, I believe, than the alternatives in the market. We've got a complete platform, including AP, expense reimbursement, and card. So that is newer to the scene. And for an accountant-focused platform, I believe that is really a unique capability. We designed it with modern code, with modern practice. So fortunately, we don't have a big, huge tech debt from, being developed 15 years ago. And so the solution's easy to use, it's clean, it's look and feel. It's easy for clients and staff to pick up and get productive right away. So that's a big benefit. And then our integration is nice and deep. With QuickBooks and Xero, with a bidirectional sync. We push both data and documents into those systems. So you've got the document, you've got the actual image as an example in QuickBooks or Xero, not just a link. And so we're not holding you hostage or forcing you to pay for a user or something like that. In fact, as you'll see later, we don't have user fees. Costs very low. So here's a look at the screen. You could see the screen is modern and clean, and there's a rich amount of information here, but it's easy to consume and engage with. On the right-hand side, you see the image that's been captured, the data that's been scanned, the options in terms of coding have been pulled in from the accounting system. They remain bidirectionally synced and updated so that your solution is current, and the data that you can choose to associate with transactions is current and syncs with the accounting system. Let's hope that phone doesn't keep ringing. Darn it.
Oh, there it is.
It'll only be a second. So the other, well, actually, I'll go on mute. Jeremy, I'll let you talk.
Yeah. So one of the things that I really like with that, and we use extensively with Corpay One is, so, you know, you talked about the benefit of having that image there and being able to code things and move everything to the software. Well, the one piece that a lot of the other competition doesn't have out there is the ability to use the project function within QuickBooks. And we use that extensively to track restricted funds for our nonprofit clients. So, you know, this is an example of a project specific report in QuickBooks, and we're pretty exclusive with QuickBooks Online, where this donor, United Y, gave the organization $30,000, but restricted it that, hey, we want 3 different buckets. We want $10,000 to go towards a bed program, you know, for people in need, you know, then vouchers, and then also basic needs. So like once those dollars are in there, you have that all set up, the project's all set up in QuickBooks already, and then every single time you have an expense that goes against that, we just shoot that document into Corpay, can attach the right project information to it. Again, the document's all there, all it syncs and integrates. So as soon as we're done closing the books for the month, I can give a report like this to my client saying, oh, your donor wants an update on how the funds are used, what's left, all of that. It's here. It's all in the accounting system. So you have one version of the truth, right? You're not off system tracking things. And it just allows us to be efficiently create things like this and having that document attached.
Okay, now I'm back off mute. So yeah, and it went. I heard the voicemail and everything. So you're lucky that I get to spare you from that. So so the Rockstar nonprofit mission is stardom and fame, I guess, right? And a luxury lifestyle. But I love that you can that you've found a way to use the solution for tracking restricted grants. That, you know, there's a great power in that, and so much time spent with Excel sheets historically for many with that process. So the more we can do to automate that, I'm sure is a huge impact. And so another aspect of the solution that adds value to the spend management platform is bringing in a corporate card. So we can allow a client to have a specific spend management card. This is a card with a credit line that allows them to purchase and be fully integrated into the Corpay One system, which then feeds into the accounting software. So there's great capability here to assign a card to key folks, give them specific limits, define what they are able to spend on by category, and then you can refresh that spend amount. Is it a daily? Is it a weekly? Is it a monthly limit? And that can be, you know, turned on and off and changed as needed. So somebody's going on a trip, you can boost their limit. When they get back, you can cut it back. So you can really keep spending controlled, which is really critical for nonprofits who really want to make sure they've got a tight rein on spend and associating all those costs with the right sources of funding. So then additionally with bill pay, with card spend, you similarly have the ability to report by category, by fund, by person, by vendor. And so there's great detail in the tracking and the visibility that you have to enable that nonprofit to focus more of their spending on their mission. With QuickBooks integration, we're pushing the data and the documents. And so that is a nice and complete integration with, as Jeremy mentioned, both you could use classes, customers, and projects. There's a great detail that you could use in the categories that you associate with your QuickBooks clients or Xero. So why don't we take a pause at this point and look and see, are there any questions? And it looks like we've got a few. So the first one was a comment about our hold music. So Gail, thank you for that choice on our hold music, because best hold music ever.
You are so welcome.
Yeah, there you go. So what cloud GLs do we integrate with? Xero, QuickBooks Online, NetSuite, Intact. So we integrate with Xero, with QBO, QuickBooks Desktop. We do have a Sage Intact integration. I would say that we should talk about each client as to whether or not that situation's right for them. It's not deeply integrated to custom dimensions and some of the more sophisticated capabilities that you may have clients using with Sage Intact. So we just want to be careful there. Works for some. So that's and that's deep integration across the stack there. Why is Corpay One better than? I love this question from Ronaldo there. Why is Corpay One better than Pluto, Bill.com, Expensify, or the others, or the payment functions in Relay? So those are all good solutions that do certain specific things. Effectively, for us, it's a complete solution in that we have a full spend management platform. The ease of use is deep, and the cost is very different as well. So because we are a fully integrated spend management platform, including the payments, and we're a B2B payments business as our history and our strength, we're part of a much larger company called FleetCor, around $3 billion in revenue, focused on the payments. We can offer the software for nearly free. There's no user fees. There's no monthly fees. Even the checks and ACH payments are included. There's no cost for those. We have a few ancillary fees for like voided checks if you want to do an international wire, and that's about it. So if you don't do any voids and you don't have any international wires, our system it's free. So so it's a great value. That's a big difference. Then workflow is a big differentiator. We're going to show that in a bit. So do we integrate with HubDoc and Xero? Yes, Xero. Because we have a sync from Xero, then, but we don't have a direct integration with HubDoc. But we can work together with you to show you how that setup will work. We have what is a partner port? Do we have a partner portal? We'll just ask one. There's so many questions. Thank you. I'm going to just answer one or two more. And then, we have a dashboard to manage many clients from. And so I think that's what you're asking in terms of a partner portal. We have, but if there's more specifics to that, we'll talk about that. We use classes and projects to track programs. Yes. Two-way sync. Yes. Bidirectional two-way sync with QBO. We're adding that with Xero right now. And so that's coming. With that, let's get back to the presentation. And another polling question.
All right, our next question is, what is the maturity of your CAS practice, your client accounting services practice? The options are exploring, interested in learning more and still evaluating, committed, planning on starting one soon, getting started, still early and working to ramp up the practice area, growth mode, we've defined processes and are scaling to grow the business, or maintain and improve. We have a mature practice focusing on fine-tuning services and profits. So please choose one of those options. Okay, and I think we've got our answers here.
Okay, so yeah, we're sort of in the exploring mode for about 40% of us, and then about 2/3, almost 60%, are in the process, getting started, and growth to maintain, improve, sort of spread across those. So a variety of levels of maturity of practice here. So interesting. Thank you. All right. So advanced workflow. So this is where we take what some solutions would call approvals, and we have a far more flexible and powerful capability. And this is where we can leverage what we view as AI, and that's not artificial at all. It's leveraging your accountant intelligence to make these processes more sophisticated and capable and efficient for your clients and for your practice, for your staff. So what does that mean? So the first is it's a simple Boolean logic tool. If this trigger information is X, do Y. And so there are a lot of variables you could choose. It could be the amount, the bill, the vendor, a keyword. We can scan for that keyword on a bill or a receipt or an invoice. We can vary it by department or location, or if there's some a person, funding source. There's a bunch of different triggers that you could start with. And then the things you could do are very flexible as well. Of course, the simple and basic is just a simple workflow. If the amount is X or more than an amount, send the approval to this person. Or you could do a very sophisticated workflow with multiple tiers. And in that workflow, the first step could be, hey, we want our accounting team, our bookkeepers, our CAS practice to code it and make sure we think it's accurate. And then we want it to go to the client, and we want at least 2 people from a group, or a very specific person, or both. You can be very specific with an either, an or, an and, or one of. And so it's very capable, and you can so you could design that as needed. And I think with a nonprofit in particular, oftentimes you have large transactions have to go to a treasurer or board members. And so you can automate that process with some of the other tools out there. Because that requires a user, it becomes expensive and onerous. So people streamline it, and they don't even use the approval processes that might be there because of the cost. Whereas with this solution, there's no user fee, there's no software fee. So you could really design it to your client's content. What is exactly they need, and make that very tailored for them. So what do you see, Jeremy, in terms of approvals in your client base? What are they more simple, a little bit of both? What's it like there?
Yeah, I mean, I like to say when you've worked with one nonprofit, you've worked with one nonprofit. Nothing is consistent between them, which takes away from your economies of scale a little bit. And this is why this specific aspect of it sold me on this tool, because I am accountant, data manager by nature, and we'll sit there and geek out on a spreadsheet with an if-then statement, bringing all these conditions in for an hour. If it saves me or my team several hours down the path or later when we're working through things. So yeah, I mean, the fact that you can build this logic in has been super invaluable for us to make those processes easier. I don't know if you want to go through the example. I think we have one on the next slide.
I will. Yeah, that's it in a sec. I've got a couple more examples here, and then I'll get to yours.
Yeah.
So these are some that we find are more transaction automation. So this takes it to the AI piece, where you've got the ability to automate recurring bills. So for an invoice amount or a bill amount that comes in the same every month, the vendor's the same, the amount's the same. You could schedule it so that, hey, if it comes in and the price change of that amount is less than X percent, 5%, 10% change from the previous month, auto approve and flow through the process. So you don't have to submit the client to see the same things that are unchanged every month. They can focus on what is really different, what counts, and automate the rest. Whether that's a recurring bill that needs to be paid, or it's even a subscription, and you just need to do the accounting process to code it. We can still capture an invoice or a bill that's been paid, document the coding, push that right into the accounting system, and then not have to pay it and mark it as paid so that it's complete. Or say scan for new vendors. Hey, when a new vendor comes in, we want to make a note on that record. We want to send a trigger to one of the particular staff members who's supposed to reach out and get W-9s. And we could even block that payment from being made until you capture one. There's different processes there with workflow that you can really customize and focus on automation. And so here's one that Jeremy was referencing. So Jeremy, I'll kick it back to you.
Yeah. So this was one, and like my team has been awesome and ran with us. And I asked them when you invited me to join you here, like, who's got a cool workflow that they're pretty proud of that would be a good example. And one of my teammates came and provided this one. So just a little background, we have a nonprofit leadership group that actually has two separate but related entities. One of one's a 503c, the other one's a 50c4. So continually having problems of expenses for one entity going to the books of the other one and having to move things around and correct all that. So in addition to the normal workflow, we built in a catch you and stop that process into the workflow of this specific one as well. So just working through this, and obviously black some things out here for confidentiality reasons. But, if we get something from this specific vendor, just working through the logic here, we automatically put it to the category that it's a consulting or program related cost. And then they were very adamant that, hey, we want this note that these specific costs that come in through in the GL, we want it noted that it's a strategic advisory service. So we automated that. We don't want to type anything, just automate it, put it on there right away. And then the next one is this is a custom field that we built in Corpay just to have the user who's putting in the bill required to answer, is this a 501c3 or a 501c4 expense? So we know it's going to the right software. If it's under the Corpay account for the wrong one, they immediately get an error and have to send it to the other one. So right away takes away the busy work of that side of things. And then it progresses through the rest of the process that you would expect. What class do we want it on? And then who are the approvals? As Bob alluded to, we want to look at it first just to make sure everything's kosher. We understand what the coding should be so that when the client approver gets it, everything should be good for them to just scan it, make sure the dollar amount is right and approve it. So we look at it, and then it goes to Madison here, who is the approving person at the nonprofit itself. So overall, just a lot of pieces in there that it's cool to get that all done right away, that we're not trying to put our brain power and time into managing that. It's ourselves.
That's AI right there. I love it. Thank you. Yeah. And it's a great example. And I think really this is the biggest, in addition to cost and it being a complete platform, this is the part of the process that's really the most unique. The system that's the most unique is this workflow builder. And you can automate so many different things, so many different processes. It really is just a matter of how much time you want to think about where you can invest to automate. Small, simple client, hey, maybe not too many workflows. Larger, more sophisticated client, great. Let's build several, and then we have the ability to create templates at the dashboard level that you can apply to multiple clients, and we continue to invest development there to make that more capable and powerful. So it's it's a big differentiator, and our team is here to help. And so the first time you look at it, it's new and a little bit powerful. So for some, it looks a little daunting, but it's not actually. You spend a few minutes poking around in it, and it gets very obvious pretty quickly, and you can just start creating things like this that, we didn't think of. And how cool is that? So now let's get to some questions. Any questions about workflow? I think there's some. Let me look at the questions in here already. And so do we have accountant-specific support? Yes, we do. And that team works with firms and helps them with workflow creation too. We have, let's see, what size nonprofit makes sense to use the software? So we have firms put clients on the system with, a handful of bills, 3-5 bills a month, or 3,500 bills a month. Both of those are more extreme on the outlier side, but 5 to 50 is probably where we see the most volume of clients with that volume of transactions. But there's really no limit. It just comes down to what makes sense for the client and for your team. Then what procedures do we have in place for tracking 1099s and obtaining W-2s? So we showed a workflow for blocking the process. We don't actually have a storage of the W-2 doc or the W-9 document itself. So I don't want to overstate what we do to automate the process. And we don't print 1099s, but we do have the ability to monitor, hey, is it a new vendor? And your team could choose, yes, we have a 1099, no, we don't, or yes, we have a W-9, no, we don't have a W-9. And that'd be a workflow that you create, and we could show you how to set that up if that's something you really like and you want to do in the system. We're thinking about how we could make that a more complete and automated process. But there's a lot of things we could build. And so we're spending a lot of time figuring out exactly, where's the most impact, what's next as we continue to develop and add more features. So that one's pretty cool though. All right. Any other questions about workflow or approval process? No, I think we're good. Okay. So, Gail, back to you. Polling question number 3.
We're ready for our next polling question. And just a reminder, if you have any questions at all for our speakers, feel free to enter them at any time in the Ask a Question box on your screen. So our next polling question is, how do you currently manage bill pay? And the answer options are, we don't offer bill pay yet. We're committed. We're planning on starting one soon. We're getting started, still early, and working to ramp up in the practice area. We're in growth mode. We've defined processes and scaling to grow the business, or in maintain and improve mode. We have a mature practice focusing on the fine-tuning services and profits. So choose whichever option is appropriate for you. And actually, I'm looking on the screen here. It looks like the getting started option is not one of your options, so ignore that. So we just have 4 answer options for you here. Pick the one that's most appropriate for you and your business, and we'll take a look at the results as they come in here. And so far, it's looking like the majority of people are not there yet.
Yeah, it looks like about a little less than half are offering bill pay. But within that group, a variety of maturity levels, similar to offering outsourced CAS services. So, super. Okay. Well, with that, let's get back to our presentation. So now, as as a nonprofit, we have organizations who have constituents that really want to make sure that that money is being spent the way it was intended. So whether that is the donors or the lenders or the grant providers, specifically on those restricted grants, they really want to know, hey, there's an audit. And so we have that. We've got a great detailed audit trail, always on, shows what change was made, who made the change, when it was made. There's no fooling the audit trail. And sadly, for those who need to clean something up, but that's really the intention, right, Jeremy? So how does this help you? Have you run into situations where you need to share the audit trail?
Yeah, for sure. So we have at least 80% of our clients either have some kind of accountant engagement each year, most of them being audits or a review process. And this just makes it clear when you have a good separation of duties, when you're always checking your internal controls, right? That, we're putting it in there, we may be coding it, we can't pay any of the bills. You see the approval, you can see the dollar amount. Did it go through all the levels it should have gone through? And then here's when the payment went out. Again, like email notification to the vendor, all of that steps are here. So, it's even not overly difficult for us to say like, hey, here's your existing approval process, and just update your documentation that the auditor usually requires to say, hey, we've bolted Corpay One onto this because it's easier. Here's how that changes things. It's usually adding in a couple of sentences here and there. And then you have that procedural document updated, and then it's all here, ready for you to go into and share with the auditor whenever they want to know, was this strict procedure followed? Yeah, so it's pretty huge for us.
Anecdote. So started my career in public accounting back in the day when it was the big six, and some of my clients were nonprofits and some charitable organizations and education, nonprofit education, and I had to beat everything up, right? It was like test and go back to the specific transactions. And it would have been so great to have these audit trails to track it back to the restricted grants and be able to do that more efficiently. I'm sure it's translated to more efficient audits, hopefully more affordable audits as well. And, but anyway, this is great. So, anyway, this part is there, and as a capability for those of you looking to go into nonprofits as a focus area. I think you'll see now this will help you to help your clients satisfy their review or audit process. So I think it's mostly self-explanatory, not expecting a lot of questions about the audit trail, but
yeah,
no. We do have a question in here though from, does an approver get an email reminder when approval is required? And so the answer is yes. We have notifications, and those notifications behave differently based on the situation. So if it's a situation where at least a certain number of approvers need to approve, the other approvers will be notified, hey, someone needs to approve. And then once it is approved, they'll be notified, hey, this was approved. You don't need to do anything else. The other two people did that approval. So there's some help in there, and we want to make it easier and faster, give people the triggers they need to get it done so that it is more efficient and easier for your team to manage that process. So
a couple things that I would even expand on that, Bob, is internally we use it for our own like employee reimbursements too. So like, I have the app on my phone too, get a notification that way. But even beyond that, I like that it's connected to Slack. right? So Slack is our internal communication tool. I know that's huge around there, but every time that there's something in there that I need to approve, it goes to that Slack channel. I know I can click right on it, look at things and push it along, and also put the responsibility for employees that want reimbursement. Hey, make sure you're set up as a vendor, have the payment information in there, enter it in. I don't care what you put in there because I got to prove it before it goes anywhere, right? So, yeah, cool.
That's great. Use of Slack. And yeah, we have some capabilities there too with Slack, and yeah, so excellent. So for those I was sharing the cost, so we don't charge any fees for the software, and this is a list of all of our fees right now. So we will add other services in the future. And so it is possible that we might add services that may have a variable cost. We don't envision that. Our goal is to make them included as much as possible. So there's no approver fees. You can see, software fees. There's no scanning fees. So some solutions, they charge extra if you want them to scan the document. We include that. The ACH and the check payments are included as well. So you even save the amount of postage if you're doing it manually. So it could be cheaper than, well, it is cheaper than doing the bookkeeping process and the payment process manually, as well as versus some of the other service providers who have fees for this stuff. We do charge for an international wire transfer. Those are available today in US dollars. We're working on adding in global payments for those who have foreign transactions in foreign currency amounts. That's coming very soon. The beta is rolling out like the next few weeks. We'll have probably a full release in Q3, assuming it progresses as we intend, which we expect it will. It's also part of our business. Frankly, the company we're integrating is another part of our company. You can see here's a little bit of info. We're part of a larger company called FleetCor, over $3 billion in revenue. We're a big B2B payments provider, fuel cards, corporate cards, and foreign currency payments. Those are some of our biggest businesses. And so then back to, where are there any last questions? We've got a few minutes left for questions. I've got a few other generic questions in here. So see, there's a variety of accountant support options. Is there chat support, phone support? What we do is we assign you a dedicated account manager. We call that person advisor manager. And they're super knowledgeable about the product. They work only with accountants and bookkeepers, so they understand the client role. They understand the urgency of certain issues you have, and they speak the language. So and we understand the integration into the accounting software, so they're a great use. We have a dedicated support team as well for accountants, and they similarly have. So I don't know, maybe Jeremy, you can speak to how our team's been at helping you when stuff arises, which it always, with any solution out there, it does.
Oh yeah, I mean that's an expectation, right? With anything, something's going to come up. Hey, we don't know what happened here. How do we work through that? Kat is our account rep. She's been awesome, but also just the support team, right? So like the chat function, put the question in there. They say right away, hey, we're working on it, or, really good with communications that we know where the process is, even if it's not right away, that we got to go back to the development team, or, who is the right person in your organization to look at it. But really good at communicating and let us know like where they are for each step of the way.
Yep. So yeah, bottom line, we speak accountant, and we stick with you all the way. So that's the key.
Yeah. Can I, would you do that? I think one of the other questions, and this is just some background nonprofit thing, is they asked, like, would you use classes or projects for programs? So like, as I alluded before, every nonprofit's different. Corpay allows you to put both of those in there. Typically, we will default to using classes to support programs, and then using the project function to support restricted grants and donor-specific reporting. So, but having both of those options is paramount for us, that we can run that P&L or that income statement for both the program itself and for the donor. And sometimes you want to do it by donor split by program, or by program split by donor, right? So you want all those pieces that you could answer those hard questions and give your nonprofit leaders good information to make decisions with. So a tool like this that helps us pull all those data points in and efficiently is a must for us to be able to do that and still keep that relationship for us profitable, right?
That's great. Thank you. Here's another shout out for Kat. Kat's very responsive. Yeah, so are Emma and Eric and the rest of the team. So yeah, they're all committed to your success, and happy to help when something comes up. And then let's see, does my accounting firm purchase and use this for my clients, or does each customer pay you, and how much? So the how much part is very, very little. Really, the only thing that would cost would be if there's a voided check or a international wire payment. You can decide, though, within the solution whether you would bill the client for that or whether you'd pay for it on their behalf. And so the default method is that you would sign up, you would be the customer, we would support you, and you would support your clients. If you wish for us to support a client directly, that's possible. We could do that. That's easy and something we normally do, but just less common. So that's really as makes sense for your client, for your practice, what makes sense for that organization or business. So, okay. So I think that's the bulk of our questions and our content. We've made it through the 53rd minute. I think we are probably good to go. I guess there's another question here about fees. So are we going to change our fee structure in the future? No, we don't plan to. Business is what it is. So I don't have a crystal ball for 10 years from today, but I do know what our roadmap is for the next couple of years, and that is not in the cards. So we fortunately, as the card issuer and the money mover, we actually make money from moving the money. So the fees are what they are. And I believe that's a sustainable model for us. Yeah. And it's really an evolution in the payments fintech space for companies to be able to provide a complete service and cover the cost because of the card or the payments or the other part of the business. And as the money mover and card issuer, we happen to have owner's economics on all this stuff, which is a nice advantage. And we can pass that on to you and your client.
Yeah, and it's nonprofits notoriously low on resources, right? Both funding, people, all of that. So if you find something like this, I've been in a consulting call with a potential client before, and we weren't the right fit, but I talked about like, hey, this is a tool that we use. And like, hey, wait, tell me more about that. How does that work? So yeah, so it's it doesn't have to be an accounting firm using it either. I've had potential clients just have ran with this too. Because again, and when it all comes down to it, the nonprofit is typically doing amazing things for their mission. Let's make that and give them the tools that they need as best possible, even if we're not the right fit, right?
Yeah, yep. And let's see, I think, so if you have further questions for me or for my team, we're happy to help. If you have a client that needs specialized help and you'd like to connect with Jeremy, I know he'd love to hear from you too. So, his team and his services are there to help support you as that may benefit you and your practice. Or if you want to work out some sort of relationship there, that'd be great. So thank you, Jeremy, for joining us. You've been a great valued partner. We have a lot of happy joint clients as a result. Thank you for bringing those. And we look forward to continuing to support you. And for the rest, we hope you have a great day. And Gail and team, thank you, CPA Practice Advisor. It's a pleasure to support your community and to bring solutions and support the profession.
All right. Well, thank you guys so much. As Bob mentioned, if you want to contact either of our speakers, feel free to. Their contact information is available on the screen. We'd like to thank you both for an excellent and thorough presentation and hope all of you attending today enjoyed this webinar. We'd like to thank you for attending. We'd like to thank Corpay One for making this event possible and for enabling us to offer a free CPE credit to each attendee. As a reminder, you'll receive a link to your CPE certificate later today in your email, so look for an email message from CPA Practice Advisor. If you have any questions about CPE, or if you have multiple people watching this event on the same computer and you need to send their email addresses in order to get CPE certificates, you can contact me directly at gperry, G-P-E-R-R-Y, excuse me, G-P-E-R-R-Y at cpapracticeadvisor.com. After the event, which is going to be in just a moment, you'll be presented on screen with a post-event survey evaluation form. We would greatly appreciate it if you would take a moment of your time to answer the questions on that evaluation. It is optional, but we do learn from those evaluations and can improve our webinar offerings to you by you telling us what you liked and what we could do better. So again, thank you all today, and that will end our presentation.